Hello students, welcome in the new chapter of history. It is education and British rule. So in this chapter we are going to know about our existing education system before the advent of the British rule in India, and then we will know about the education system introduced by the British in India and the reasons why they introduced this system in India. So let's start. So, in ancient times, before the advent of the British Empire, the Indian education system was mainly concerned to very few subjects that includes law, religion, logic, medicine, and astronomy, and it was based on ancient texts. There was not a very high level of scientific research, and the thinking were at their lowest level also. So, under such circumstances, superstition and backward social customs flourished in the Indian society. Now, in this particular system of education or the traditional system of education, the education was imparted mainly through gurukuls. So, what were gurukuls? So, gurukul was the residence of the teacher or guru, where disciples used to live with guru and do day-to-day practical work or day-to-day lifestyle. Okay, here the students used to sit together before the guru and the teaching was imparted or the views were exchanged between them. Now when the British came up here as a trading company, they start trading and then slowly they began to rule in India. Then they occupied such a large area that it was not possible for them to employ all Britishers or bring Britishers from England to here for the rule or for the governance of the territories. So they thought that it would be very beneficial for the company to educate some of the Indians and impart them modern education to work on lower level of clerical jobs. So that's why they introduced modern education in India. Now, after they have decided to introduce modern education in India, there were conflicts that were arose between the British thinkers that what type of education must be introduced in India. Some thought that they should continue the existing education with some modifications and additions, and all the main subjects must be converted to English or they must be modified accordingly. The books must be translated to English and then they must be taught to the students. On the these were called as the Orientalists. Okay. The other group was the Anglicists. They wanted to introduce Western education in India through the medium of English. Okay, so they want the medium of instruction to be the English language. Now, to settle disputes between these two groups, the British appointed Lord Macaulay. So he settled this controversy by Macaulay's Minute. Macaulay's Minute formed the basis for the reforms introduced in the English Education Act of 1835. So that's why Lord Macaulay is also known as the father of modern education in India. Now the British Parliament constituted a committee under the chairmanship of Sir Charles Wood. He was the president of company's board of control at that time. Its main aim was to introduce or to make a comprehensive education policy for India. So he declared the new education policy for India on July 19 in 1854. It is therefore known as Wood's Dispatch. Now, aims of Wood's Dispatch. Its aim was to raise the intellectual standard and mental development of the Indians. Second, to introduce the Western system of education and science to Indians and to promote their material prosperity. Third was to develop the character and morality of Indians along the Western system of thought. Fourth, to produce proper able workers for the East India Company. So in this way, their main aim was to employ some educated Indians at the lower level of governance or for the clerical jobs. Now curriculum of education that was introduced through this policy was Oriental language and literature, special emphasis on Western knowledge and science, limited access to religion or religious education. So this was the curriculum of this education policy. Now medium of instruction according to this policy. So first native languages and English to be the medium of primary education. Secondly, English to be the medium of higher education. So this led to the opening of many schools for imparting the Western system of education in English. An education department was set up in all provinces. In Bombay, Madras, Calcutta, universities were opened. It emphasized on the provision of every district with at least one government school. Provision was made for grants in aid for private schools affiliated to the government. Now, the outcomes of this education system or the Western education systems started when the schools were opened in all parts of the country. Now, this education created awareness among the Indians and they started thinking about their nation. So, there was a development of nationalism in India, which was started after the introduction of this Western education. It opened the door for Western literature, and people come to know about their rights, about their nation, and about the other nations also, that how they got independence or how they some of the countries introduced democracy at that time. So soon the country witnessed popular uprisings in the form of Swadeshi and boycott movement. Indians stopped going to English medium schools and colleges as a mark of their protest in such movements also. Now there was a change in education in India. On 16th of November 1905, eminent Bengalis including Rabindranath Tagore, Aurobindo Ghosh, Raja Subodh Chandra Malik, and Brajendra Kishore Roy Chaudhary met. The idea of the National Council of Education was proposed here. Now, Mahatma Gandhi also advocated a new system of education. This was known as Nai Talim. Nai means new, Talim means education. So, Nai Talim system. This system visualizes a new form of learning as against the conventional educational system, which compartmentalizes formal education and real life. So, now the Nai Talim aimed at bridging this gap and in achieving education through solving problems faced in the real life. Now let's talk about the objectives of Naitalim. So first was to provide instruction and training in such branches of learning that would promote a classless and casteless society. So this was the foremost aim of this education system. Second was to carry out research and disseminate knowledge. Third was to function as a center for extension work leading to integrated rural development. The India resides in rural areas. Since there was very low urbanization at that time, so people lived in rural areas, so it was very important to carry on the rural development. Next, we will talk about Tagore's Abode of Peace. So, in 1901, Rabindranath Tagore started a school at Shanti Niketan. Tagore's vision was a world where people existed in perfect harmony with nature. So it was named Path Bhavna and started with only 5 students. Open air education, as opposed to being cloistered within the four walls of a classroom, became a reality here. So it was a school based on his ideals with the central premise that learning in a natural environment would be more enjoyable and fruitful. After he received the Nobel Prize, the school was expanded into an international university and renamed as Vishwa Bharati. The Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College was established in 1875 by Sir Syed Ahmad Khan. It marks one of the most important events in the educational and social history of modern India. Its establishment is considered as the first significant response of the Indian Muslims to the challenges of post 1857 era. It was an important catalyst in a process of social change among Muslims, an epoch in the social progress of India. With these words on his lips, Lord Lytton laid the foundation stone of the Mohammedan Anglo Oriental College on January 8, 1877. So, nearly 8 years later, when the noted Orientalist Sir Hamilton Gibb looked back at the history of Muslim transition from the medieval to the modern way of life, he characterized this college as the first modernist institution in Islam. The Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College was originally affiliated with Calcutta University and was transferred to the Allahabad University in 1885. It was also around this time that a movement began for the university to stand on its own. In 1920, the Act of Indian Legislative Council elevated the Mohammedan Anglo-Oriental College to the status of a central university, and it came to be known as Aligarh Muslim University. So section 2 oblique A of the AMU Aligarh Muslim University Act defines the university as the educational institution of their choice established by the Muslims of India. So today AMU occupies an exalted position among Indian universities and its contribution to nation building has been tremendous. Maharaja Sayaji Raju III, who ruled Baroda from 1875 to 1939, did much to modernize the city under his reign. Baroda witnessed great progress and development in all areas of life. He set up educational institutes and made primary education compulsory. He also started a library system to make education accessible to adults. Under his guidance came up the Maharaja Sayaji Rao University of Baroda, which is today the only university in Gujarat which imparts education in English. During his time, model textile and tile factories were also set up. Today, Baroda or Vadodara, as it is known, is a modern industrial hub on account of the far-sightedness of Sayaji Rao III. So this was all about the educational system that was introduced by the British government in India. So this was due to this system that Indians came to know about the ocean of Western education, Western literature. They came about the freedom struggles of other countries and learn about them. Then they started following it in our own country, and this led to the nationalism in India and finally the freedom struggle, and then later the independence of India in 1947.